She experienced ridicule, physical contact, and was expelled from the Orem Wellness Spa, solely due to her attire, a simple white dress and flats, as opposed to more elaborate jewelry and heels. Her reservation was visibly ripped before her. Derisive laughter trailed her as she exited into the snow. The following morning, her husband's private jet touched down on the mountain. This was no ordinary jet. It was the custom G800, distinguished by E-stone etched in silver. As he disembarked, those who had previously demeaned her were visibly stunned. They were completely mistaken. Snow spiraled through the sharp peaks of the Swiss Alps, coating the glass walls of the Orem Wellness Spa with glittering crystalline particles resembling diamonds. Within, the atmosphere was heavy with the aroma of eucalyptus and the sound of privileged comfort. Patrons, adorned in cashmere robes, enjoyed matcha lattes as attendants applied 24-karat gold facial masks. Ella Stone entered through the substantial doors, her white cotton dress gently swaying around her legs, her flats making no sound on the marble flooring. Her dark hair was styled in a relaxed half-updo, her face unadorned by makeup, glowing but tired from weeks immersed in floodwaters, reconstructing a village in East Africa. She carried nothing but a quiet elegance that appeared incongruous with the luxury surrounding her. The receptionist observed her closely, her lips forming a dismissive expression. "This is a luxury spa, not a donation drop-off." Laughter spread through the lounge and Ella's heart felt a pang. She hadn't come seeking their approval. She'd come for relaxation, but what followed would shake this mountaintop. The Orem Wellness Spa was a haven of privilege situated at 8,000 feet, reachable only by private helicopter or a winding road designated for the world's elite. The gathering included a distinguished assembly of royalty, CEOs, and celebrities, with attendance secured through a Royal Gold Tier membership or a highly sought-after invitation. Ella, aged 32, appeared out of place. Her dress, understated and without visible branding, showed slight wrinkles from her luggage. Her shoes, functional and showing wear, made a subtle squeaking sound on the gleaming floor. However, her beauty, genuine and without artifice, attracted glances, though not the type she desired. She moved toward the reception desk, her hazel eyes focused, her voice gentle yet distinct. "Good afternoon," Ella said, offering a small smile. "I have a reservation under Ella Stone." The receptionist, Claire, a woman with sleek blonde hair and a diamond-studded name tag, barely looked up from her screen. Her fingers paused as she typed, and she tilted her head, assessing Ella with undisguised disdain. "A reservation?" Claire repeated, her tone sharp. "This is an exclusive spa. Reservations are for members only. Maybe you had a reservation at the lodge further down the valley?" Ella's smile remained steady, although her fingers pressed a little more firmly around the phone. "No, I'm positive it's here. I made the booking online last week. Would you mind checking again, please?" Claire let out a sigh, her carefully done nails striking the keyboard with deliberate slowness. Guests in the nearby lounge, women in designer loungewear, men with Rolexes glinting, glanced over, their whispers growing louder. A woman with a platinum bob, her face shimmering with gold flakes, leaned toward her companion. She whispered, loud enough for Ella to hear. "Looks like she walked here from a tent." Her friend, a man in a tailored blazer, chuckled, probably chasing Instagram clout. Pathetic. As Ella stood at the reception desk, a woman in a velvet robe rose from the lounge, her diamond earrings catching the light. "Excuse me," she said, her voice laced with mockery. "Is this a new charity event? Are we sponsoring refugees now?" Laughter erupted in the room, guests applauding as if she's made a joke. She moved closer, her gaze sweeping over Ella's dress with disapproval. "Honestly, darling, you're embarrassing yourself. Go back to wherever you came from." Ella's fingers gripped her phone, her face composed but her heart racing beneath their amusement. Ella felt her cheeks flush, but she maintained her gaze on Claire, ignoring the people around them. She had endured more challenging circumstances, including floods, famine, and heartbreak. This felt insignificant in comparison. However, the impact of their disapproval remained, a subtle discomfort settling beneath her composed demeanor. Claire's eyes shifted between the screen and Ella, her expression becoming stern. "There's no Ella Stone in our system," she stated plainly. "Are you certain you didn't reserve a spot under a different name, or possibly someone else's?" Claire bent across the counter, raising her voice to be heard by everyone present. "Let's be clear," she stated, gesturing towards Ella's dress. "This spa has a reputation to uphold. You look like you haven't seen a mirror in years. Did you think you could simply enter here?" She glanced towards the lounge, encouraging their amusement with a dramatic shrug. Seriously, how did she even get past the gate? The crowd responded with boisterous laughter, some capturing images with their phones, the flashes resembling vultures circling prey. Ella remained still, her poise unwavering, but the pain of being the center of attention was intense. The suggestion lingered, a weighty accusation. Ella appeared to be an imposter, an unwelcome presence in their luxurious environment. Just as she was about to speak, a man in a tailored suit approached from the lounge. This was Victor Lang, the spa's guest relations manager, known for identifying concerns before they disturbed the atmosphere. His lips tightened into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Is there a problem, Claire?" Victor inquired, his voice calm yet firm. Claire indicated Ella, her tone full of derision. "This visitor states she possesses a reservation, but we have no corresponding entry. I had been detailing our membership guidelines." Victor's eyes moved over Ella, pausing on her dress, her footwear, and her unadorned hands. "I understand," he stated, joining his hands behind his back. Victor approached, his polished shoes clicking distinctly. "Let's resolve this," he said, moving around Ella as if a hunter assessing a prize. He hesitated, examining her with deliberate attention, then scoffed. "No makeup, no jewelry, no elegance. Did you believe we wouldn't see?" He indicated her flats, his voice carrying across the lounge. "Those shoes belong in a second-hand shop, not Orem. You're not just out of place, you're a slight to our guests." Laughter rose, guests concurring, their disapproval a pressing tide. Ella faced his look, unwavering, yet the atmosphere around her felt denser, tinged with their disdain. "Madam, the Orem Spa is reserved for Royal Gold Tier members, or those with private invitations. Without proper credentials, I'm afraid you don't meet our standards." "I have a confirmation email," Ella said evenly, pulling out her phone. She opened the message, displaying a booking code and payment receipt. "It's right here." Victor didn't bother looking at the screen. He waved a hand dismissively, as if swatting away an insect. "Emails can be fabricated or borrowed," he said. The system was confirmed as complete. My name was absent. A wave of quiet laughter spread through the lounge, the guests ceasing their attempts to overlook what was happening. A woman wearing a robe with fur trim remarked, perhaps she located the code on a promotional website. Her companions chuckled, their gold masks wrinkling. Ella's expression hardened, but she refrained from responding. She put away her phone, her actions measured and controlled, preserving her composure against their unkindness. "I understand," she said softly. "I will depart." "Oh, not quite," Claire stated, her voice suddenly firm. She indicated a security guard positioned close to the entrance, a large man named Rolf, who had a buzz cut and a stern expression. "We do not permit unauthorized entry," she stated. "Rolf will make sure you are directed to the exit." Rolf advanced, his boots making a heavy sound on the marble floor. "This way," he said gruffly, pointing towards the glass doors. Outside, snow fell in dense curtains, and the wind roared against the mountainside. Ella paused, glancing at the confirmation email one last time. She had the option to contest this, request a re-examination, or challenge their assertion. However, the pressure of their gazes, the confident expressions on their faces, indicated it would be futile. This was not the place, and this was not the moment. She stood tall, raising her chin a little. "Thank you for your time," she stated, her voice even despite the shame she felt within. She pivoted and proceeded towards the exit, Rolf following closely. While passing the lounge, a man wearing a silk scarf murmured, "I bet she borrowed someone's booking code or found it online." His companion chuckled, lifting a glass of sparkling water in a playful salute. As Ella turned towards the doors, a group of guests located near the lounge rose, their voices forming a taunting chant. "Out, out, out." they called, clapping in time, their gold masks shimmering like harsh reflections. One threw a crumpled napkin at her, snickering, "Take that for your next booking." Someone yelled, "Don't return unless you learn to dress." The chanting intensified, a surge of mockery tracking her movements. Ella kept her shoulders straight, her steps even, but each word struck her like a weight, filled with their shared disapproval. The entrances appeared nearer, offering a way out, but not comfort. The glass entrances slid open, and a rush of cold air touched Ella's face. Rolf remained inside, arms crossed, making sure she wouldn't turn around. The doors closed behind her, shutting her out into the snow. Her dress provided scant warmth. Her flats sank into the powder. She paused there for a moment, the spa's golden light seeming to mock her through the glass, the sounds of laughter reaching her. Ella didn't weep. She didn't utter a curse. She simply retrieved her phone, her fingers remaining steady despite the cold, and composed a message. "They removed my name from the list and my dignity. Is it possible for me to borrow the jet?" She pressed send, placed the phone in her pocket, and proceeded down the snow-covered path, her form disappearing into the storm. Unaware of the impending consequences, the spa continued its operations. The closest village, a collection of chalets located 10 miles down the mountain, was still when Ella reached it. She had secured transportation with a compassionate delivery driver who felt sympathy for her cold appearance. Currently, she sat near a window in a modest inn, enjoying tea, the floorboards creaking and a fire crackling in the hearth. Her dress was damp, her hair matted, but her expression remained calm and resolute. She felt no anger for her own experience. Instead, she felt anger for everyone who had ever been dismissed, judged, or discarded for not fitting an established standard. The spa's actions were not a personal attack, it was a systemic problem, and that was what she intended to address. Her phone vibrated, a response from Ethan. "Jet's on its way. Be there tomorrow. Love you." She smiled subtly, placing the phone down. There was nothing more to explain. Ethan would comprehend. He always did. Ethan Stone was a name recognized with significance across continents. At 40, he led Stone Medical Technologies as CEO, a worldwide enterprise that transformed healthcare through AI-driven diagnostics and reasonably priced prosthetics. Forbes listed him as one of the world's top 5 billionaires, but his financial status represented only a portion of his power. His influence, subtle yet steadfast, impacted policies, provided funding for hospitals, and addressed concerns from critics. He shunned public attention, preferring his actions to convey his message. However, his actions always drew notice, and currently he was acting for Ella. They had first encountered each other 12 years prior, when Ella served as a volunteer nurse in a war-torn region, and Ethan was transporting medical supplies. Her bravery, her unwillingness to yield to disorder, captivated him. She had never been interested in his wealth, only his character. Working in tandem, they had created a life of significance, with her directing relief operations and him developing solutions to preserve lives. Their wealth served as a means, not a display of prestige, and Ella's unassuming nature was her asset, a deliberate choice to remain humble despite their billions. Returning to the spa, the morning arrived bright and clear, the snow shimmering under a faint sun, guests relaxed in warm pools, their laughter drifting through the mountain air. Claire performed her duties, her smile polished as she welcomed a prince from Dubai. Victor moved among the affluent, guaranteeing every desire was fulfilled. Rolf remained near the doors, his posture a quiet deterrent to those not belonging. At 10:03 a.m., a faint tremor disturbed the calm, causing heads to turn and eyes to narrow towards the distant view. A modern Gulfstream G800, its dark, non-reflective exterior shining, began its descent towards the private airstrip located 3 miles away. The inscription E. Stone was displayed in silver on its tail, readily identifiable to those familiar with influence. Rumors quickly rippled through the spa. Could that be Stone's aircraft? A guest questioned, holding her robe. "Ethan Stone, here?" Claire's smile wavered, her fingers pausing above the keyboard. Victor stopped speaking, his gaze moving to the windows. Rolf stirred restlessly, feeling a change in the atmosphere. A group of black SUVs approached along the mountain road, their tires disturbing the snow. Staff members in formal suits exited the vehicles, establishing a barrier around the spa's entrance. Visitors moved closer to the windows, their matcha left untouched, their gold masks falling. The doors slid open and Ethan Stone entered. His gray wool coat was understated yet custom-made, his dark hair showing hints of silver, his blue eyes as sharp as the alpine wind. Standing 6'2", he possessed a quiet authority that hushed the room. Trailing him, a single aide carried a leather binder, its heft indicating more than just documents. All eyes tracked his progress as he traversed the marble floor, his steps measured, his expression unrevealing. Claire straightened, summoning a smile despite the tremor in her hands. Victor quickly approached, his characteristic charm absent, replaced by a nervous politeness. "Mr. Stone," Victor said, offering his hand. "What an honor. Welcome to Orem Wellness Spa. How may we?" Ethan didn't respond to the greeting. He halted at the reception desk, his eyes fixed on Claire. The room fell silent. "My wife was here yesterday," he stated, his voice quiet, measured, slicing through the stillness. "Ella Stone possessed a confirmed reservation, yet you denied her entry." Claire's face visibly paled. I don't remember," I stated. "You don't recall," Ethan repeated, his voice even but firm. He retrieved a single card from his coat, black with gold embossing. It read, "Ella Stone, Founding Equity Partner, Supreme Elite Membership." He presented it on the counter, the sound distinct in the quiet atmosphere. Victor's eyes widened, his mouth moving silently. "Mr. Stone, it seems there may be a misunderstanding." Ethan raised a hand, stopping him. He placed the leather binder next to the card, the cover displaying the Orem logo. "There is no misunderstanding," he stated. "My wife was a founding investor in 12 of your global properties. She held 20% ownership of this spa, or did until yesterday." He opened the binder, showing a contract filled with legal language. "This morning, she is redirecting all of her investment funds to your competitor, Vitali's Resorts, with immediate effect." A collective intake of breath went through the lounge. Guests held their phones, many already typing quickly. Claire's hands went to her mouth, her gaze searching for Victor. He offered no assistance. His face paled and he seemed to be recalling his career. "Mr. Stone," Victor stammered, "please allow us to rectify this. We were unaware." Ethan stated, his voice now colder, "because you evaluated her based on her dress, not her inherent value. You summoned security to guide her out into a snowstorm. You canceled her booking to preserve your desired appearance." He moved closer, his gaze fixed on Claire. "If you are unable to respect a woman wearing a simple dress, you do not deserve to cater to any woman at all." The statement resonated powerfully. Patrons stirred with discomfort, some averting their gaze, others murmuring in disbelief. A sense of diminishing hope lingered near the entrance, his frown giving way to apprehension. Ethan turned to his assistant, who provided him with a tablet. "The surveillance footage from yesterday," Ethan stated, addressing the room, "is already with my legal team. By tonight, it will be public. The world will see precisely how you treat your guests." Claire's legs gave way and she held onto the counter for support. Victor moved forward, desperation evident in his voice. "Mr. Stone, we will do anything. Reactivate her reservation and extend a lifetime membership offer." Ethan replied, closing the binder decisively, "It's over." He then addressed the security team, a single nod indicating, "Remove the implicated staff." Immediately, the suited guards acted quickly, moving towards Claire, Victor, and Rolf. Claire's objections escalated into cries as she was guided towards the rear exit. Several days following Ethan's visit, Claire was brought before the spa's remaining employees, called for a meeting with Orem's regional director. The crispness of her uniform couldn't hide the paleness of her face, nor repair her shattered confidence. The director's tone was frigid, stating, "Your actions concerning Ella Stone have damaged our brand." The termination was immediate, and she was warned, "Finding future employment will be difficult, as every spa in Europe is aware of your name." Claire received her final paycheck, her eyes filling with tears, The room filled with silence save for the sound of her resignation letter. She left to whispers, her career now in ruins, the remnants of her self-assurance gone, replaced by a harsh lesson in humility. This was her career. She wept, but no one stepped in. Victor trailed behind, his head lowered, murmuring apologies to the empty air. Rolf did not struggle, simply exited, his boots scraping the floor. Ethan spoke to the remaining staff, his voice steady and firm. This spa's territorial license is revoked. Orum's parent company has been notified. You will close by the end of the month. A moment of shocked quiet followed. Guests looked at each other, some quietly leaving to avoid the consequences, others recording the scene surreptitiously. The spa's golden glow appeared to lessen, its exclusivity weakening because of Ethan's words. He turned to depart, pausing briefly to retrieve Ella's membership card. She didn't require this to demonstrate her value, he stated, placing it in his pocket. You needed it to demonstrate yours, and you did not succeed. As the doors closed behind him, the spa was plunged into turmoil. Managers rushed to contact corporate, guests requested refunds, and employees murmured about their prospects. The news disseminated rapidly, much like snowfall. By noon, Orum's scandal was trending globally, the released video inciting widespread anger on social media platforms. Critics denounced the spa's exclusivity, and Vitali's Resorts declared a new collaboration with Ella Stone, guaranteeing accessible wellness for everyone. 1 week elapsed, and Ella passed the spa's closed entrance, the glass doors now secured, the marble floor appearing somber. Snow accumulated against the walls, concealing the previously prominent Orum logo. The white dress remained, though now paired with boots instead of flats, and her hair was still partially arranged upwards. Her appearance hadn't changed, yet she projected a greater intensity, as if the mountain itself were yielding to her. Ethan stood close, his coat lightly covered in snow, his arm gently touching hers. They stopped, observing the deserted building. On the nearby street corner, Claire was visible in her former Orum uniform, distributing promotional flyers for a discount massage establishment. Their eyes connected briefly with Ella's, then lowered, a blush rising on her cheeks. Ella remained silent, words were unnecessary. Her quietness resonated more powerfully than any reprimand, her composure demonstrating her resilience. Ethan offered a wry smile, drawing nearer. Next time, I'm bringing the entire massage team to our villa, all right? Ella responded with laughter, a cheerful sound against the stillness of the mountains, and they continued their walk, departing the spa and its teachings behind. If this story resonated with you, please like it, share it with others, leave a comment, and subscribe for more content. She endured ridicule, directly at the center of her former best friend's wedding. A plain linen dress, worn ballet flats, her hair partially tied. It was sufficient to make her the evening's object of amusement amid a gathering of elaborate designer gowns and professional makeup artistry. A glass of red wine was spilled onto her dress. A piercing laugh echoed. Oops, sorry, you're mistaken. This isn't a charitable fundraiser. Eva Quinn remained motionless, holding her invitation, her expression composed. They were unaware of her identity. They perceived only a reserved woman and presumed she was holding onto outdated ways. Even the bride had only extended an invitation to showcase the accomplishments she believed she had acquired. However, their assessment was incorrect. The woman they had just embarrassed was the wife of the man who had recently acquired the very company the bride was boasting about. The Belvoir estate shimmered beneath a late September sky, its expansive lawns and marble terraces reimagined as a setting for Clara Wynn's wedding. Elegant chandeliers descended from silk-draped pergolas, scattering glittering light across tables adorned with gold-rimmed crystal glassware. Orchids overflowed from every available space, their fragrance blending with the cool evening air. Attendees, global influencers, CEOs, and minor royalty, circulated like stars in designer gowns and custom-made tuxedos, their laughter echoing as a harmonious expression of affluence. The event was live-streamed to millions, presented as a celebration of empowered womanhood, with Clara, the self-proclaimed Queen of Ellis, as the focal point. Drones buzzed above, recording all perspectives for a global audience. Eva Quinn appeared on the terrace, her square-neck linen dress flowing gently in the breeze, the light sage fabric draped simply, ending just above her ankles. The sound of her worn ballet flats echoed softly on the stone, and her auburn hair was arranged in a casual knot, with several strands loose around her face. She had no makeup, her skin radiating a healthy glow, and the only jewelry she wore was a simple silver ring on her left hand. She held a cream-colored envelope in her fingers, Clara's invitation, written in elegant but smug script, encouraging her to observe a new chapter. At 36, Eva possessed a striking appearance, her hazel eyes keen with a calm wisdom, her cheekbones catching the light. Her beauty possessed a quiet quality, like a confidence shared with only a few. She stopped near the group's perimeter, her eyes taking in the estate. She'd established Ellis from nothing, a dorm room vision of pure aesthetics, arising from late nights experimenting with compounds, while Clara playfully teased her for her dedicated passion. Eva provided the intellect and the drive, crafting products that transformed an entire sector. However, following her daughter's birth, when postpartum issues confined her to bed, Clara and their close friends acted. Her name had been removed, her work appropriated, and she had been forced out through a boardroom coup, leaving her with only a broken heart and a newborn child. Eva had withdrawn, opting for a peaceful existence, while Clara advanced on the foundation of her stolen achievements. A server in a shimmering gown moved closer, her smile restrained as she assessed Eva's attire. Catering personnel should use the side entrance, she indicated, gesturing toward a gravel path bordered by service vans. Eva's lips lifted slightly, her voice gentle but distinct. "I am a guest, Eva Quinn." The invitation was presented, its wax seal intact. The hostess paused, examining it with a small gadget, then showed a look of concern. "This appears authentic, but," she began, "please wait here." She moved away, speaking quietly into her headset, leaving Eva to feel the attention of those around her. Other attendees began to observe her, their hushed tones disrupting the string quartet's music. A woman dressed in a sapphire gown, with emerald earrings, bent towards her escort. "Is that linen?" she inquired, her voice carrying across the room. Did she arrive from a craft fair? Her friend, Lila Hart, a tech heiress, laughed, her diamond bracelet flashing. It seemed likely she was here for the open bar. A man in a velvet tuxedo, his cufflinks glinting, joined in the laughter. No makeup, a rather daring choice for someone seeking financial gain. Their amusement spread, attracting more attention. Eva remained still, her hands clasped around the invitation, her expression calm. She sensed their stares, as pointed as needles, but they didn't affect her. She had overcome more challenging situations. The memory of hospital rooms, betrayal, and nights spent questioning her ability to rebuild felt distant, just background noise. She advanced towards the main pavilion when Clara Wynne materialized, radiant in a crystal-encrusted gown that glimmered like frost. Her blonde hair was styled in an updo, diamonds catching the light at her throat. She noticed Eva and paused, then offered a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Eva?" Clara's voice was syrupy, audible to the nearby tables. "Oh, you came. Don't worry. You are still welcome to attend this wedding, even if you are no longer the founder of Alyssa." The words had a sharp impact, and the crowd responded with laughter, quickly raising their phones to record the moment. Clara inclined her head, her smile becoming more pronounced. "I mean, it has been years, hasn't it? You've moved on." She indicated toward Eva's dress, her tone laced with what seemed like pity. Eva's gaze met Clara's, remaining calm and resolute, but she did not speak. Eva's silence appeared to disconcert Clara, who laughed again, louder this time. "Please, let's all be considerate," she said, gesturing with her hand. "Eva is someone I've known for a long time. Let her appreciate the scenery." She moved away, her dress trailing on the floor as attendees murmured, their voices a quiet disapproval. "An old acquaintance?" Lila Hartskoft. More accurately, a relic of the past. The master of ceremonies, a polished man called Trevor Kane with a sharp smile, stepped onto the platform, his microphone shining. "Please take your seats," he announced, his gaze sweeping across the assembly. He noticed Eva and hesitated, his smile growing. He indicated a designated area for certain attendees, gesturing toward a table close to the catering staff, situated behind a service station filled with trays. Right there, miss. That's ideal for you. Laughter rippled through the room, a harsh sound that bounced off the marble. A waiter, seemingly believing Eva was an employee, presented her with a tray of champagne flutes. Hurry up. They're waiting, he said, then appeared confused when she politely refused, her voice steady. I'm not serving tonight. Eva was seated at her corner table when a catering manager in a crisp suit approached, his face flushed with irritation. You are in the incorrect location, he stated, his voice loud enough for nearby guests to turn. Staff do not sit with guests. Please move. He grasped her arm, pulling her up as her chair scraped the marble, drawing stares. Don't feign ignorance, he hissed, misinterpreting her silence as resistance. Guests applauded, one person shouting, "Send her to wash dishes." A woman tossed a napkin at her, laughing, "Start cleaning. Honey." A drone overhead focused on her misstep, sharing it with millions. Eva regained her balance, her invitation shifting a little, but her expression showed no fear, only a calm determination that contrasted with their excitement. Eva proceeded to the table, her movements deliberate, and took a seat, maintaining a straight posture, the invitation still in her grasp. The other attendees at the table, mostly secondary guests and a few hesitant relatives, didn't meet her eyes, their unease obvious. Close by, a cluster of influencers in bright dresses recorded themselves, their voices carrying. She's giving thrift store vibes, one commented, focusing the camera on Eva's flats. Does she realize this is being streamed to millions? Another remarked, her lips gleaming. Bet she's here to request a position with Clara. Their audience responded enthusiastically, with comments appearing rapidly. Loser alert. Why is she even here? As Eva stood close to the pavilion, a group of attendees approached, their eyes reflecting hostility. A woman in a pearl-encrusted gown, her lipstick sharp as her tongue, moved forward. Why is she present here? She expressed disdain, her voice audible to everyone. Clara is too compassionate, allowing those in need to enter. Her escort, a man with a gold watch, threw a shrimp from his plate at Eva's feet, smiling. Retrieve, dear. The assembly erupted, phones recording as others participated, scattering morsels, murmuring, "She is insignificant now." A young influencer declared, "Let's make her infamous for being pitiable," inciting further laughter. Eva's hands were steady as she held her invitation, her gaze fixed forward, yet the atmosphere grew heavy with their malice, a display fueled by her silence. Clara's inner circle, the women who'd assisted her in acquiring a license, gathered near the bridal platform, their laughter as cutting as shards of glass. Margot Rees, a former chemist who had taken Eva's formulas, inclined her head towards Sloane Carter, the marketing expert who had revised Eva's narrative. Look at her, Margot said, her ruby necklace catching the light, seated with the staff, utterly pathetic. Sloane smiled, enjoying her martini. Clara's talent was intriguing her. It seemed to suggest she wouldn't disapprove. They touched glasses, their attention on Eva, who remained impassive, her eyes focused on the stage where Clara was about to speak. The audience's antagonism became more pronounced, encouraged by champagne and Clara's challenge. A gentleman in a bow tie, his face red, bent toward Eva's table, his voice unsteady. "Hey, servant, get me a drink," his companions shouted, one throwing an olive from his martini, observing it travel across her lap. A muffled exclamation drew laughter. A woman wearing a feathered headpiece dismissed Eva with a disdainful gesture, her voice laced with mockery. "You're disrupting the decor, dear. Perhaps you're better suited for the kitchen." Cameras quickly recorded the olive stain, the discarded napkin, and the mark on her dress resulting from the incident. Eva's grip tightened on her invitation, yet her expression remained calm, displaying a quiet resolve that made their comments appear frantic. Trevor Kane returned to the microphone, his smile now more pronounced. "Before our bride speaks, let's acknowledge our unexpected guests." He gestured toward Eva, the spotlight shifting to her table, momentarily obscuring her. "Who invited the vintage shop? Huh?" The crowd responded with enthusiastic applause. Trevor Kane approached the microphone, his eyes twinkling as he focused on Eva again. "Folks, we have a remarkable story here," he announced, the spotlight highlighting her. "Miss Thrift Shop believes she's a guest, but let's be honest. She's here for the refreshments." The audience roared, their phones raised, recording as he spoke on, suggesting, "She's probably prepared a sad tale. Let's hear it, Eva, and have a cry with us." A spectator tossed a bread roll, striking her shoulder, while another yelled, "Give her a gift bag and remove her." The live broadcast intensified, the comment section filled with harsh remarks. "Complete failure. Clara dominates." Eva wiped away the crumbs, her face calm, her quietness a barrier against their anger. A drone approached, its camera focused on her, displaying her soiled dress to the public. Online comments exploded, a wave of dismay. Calls for her removal echoed. Eva remained composed, the bright stage lights illuminating her face, but her gaze didn't falter, fixed on Clara, who smiled from the stage, clearly enjoying the attention. Clara approached the microphone, her voice rich and controlled. "Thank you all for celebrating with me," she began, her gown shimmering under the lights. "This wedding isn't just about love, it's about my journey. The list was my vision, my hard work, my victory. I created it from the ground up, and tonight, I am here as evidence that a woman can achieve everything she desires." The audience responded with enthusiastic applause, the sound reverberating as Clara's gaze briefly met Eva's, a spark of triumph visible in her eyes. "Some individuals begin with great momentum but eventually diminish," she continued, her words deliberately sharp. Clara interrupted her address, her eyes fixed on Eva with a triumphant expression. "Oh, let's remember where we came from," she said, her voice laced with insincere warmth. "Eva, you instructed me significantly about yielding." The crowd's applause was sharp and intense as Clara indicated Eva's table, the spotlight shifting to emphasize her stained dress. "Look at her, still so unassuming," Clara remarked, eliciting surprised reactions and laughter. A guest called out, "Back to the basement, Eva." As others recorded with their phones, Clara moved closer to the microphone and added, "Some people simply aren't suited for the spotlight." Eva remained composed, her hazel eyes unwavering, a quiet strength setting her apart from their animosity. She stated, "Others, like me, ascend and continue ascending." The applause grew, but Eva's gaze remained steady, her silence more impactful than Clara's words. Her voice continued, even as Clara spoke. A woman wearing a gold dress, her influencer status evident in her carefully posed posture, whispered to her companion, gesturing towards Eva. "She's probably homeless now," she murmured, nodding. Clara added that she had failed after losing Elise. Her companion, a hedge fund employee named Derek, laughed, the sound audible to Eva's table. "Bet she's here to get a free meal," he said. He inadvertently nudged his fork in her direction, causing it to fall with a clatter at her feet. "Pick it up, darling," he said, which elicited laughter. The drone recorded everything, and online platforms quickly amplified Eva's perceived embarrassment, with memes already circulating. Alyssa's forgotten founder. Eva dismissed the fork with her foot, her actions purposeful, her composure serving as a defense against the public's reaction. Following this, a deep vibration filled the air, resembling thunder across the estate. Attention shifted, drinks halted in midair as a helicopter descended, its blades cutting through the evening light. It touched down on a lawn nearby, scattering petals and dust, its polished, black exterior a striking contrast to the wedding's soft colors. The assembled guests murmured, cameras adjusting to record it, live stream viewership surging to millions. A man emerged, his tuxedo immaculate, his demeanor commanding the attention of everyone present. Asher Dorian, the famously private billionaire and renowned master of global mergers, a name spoken with a mix of apprehension and admiration. His dark hair was swept back, his gray eyes scanning the crowd with a predator's focus. He moved past the guests without a word, their gasps trailing him like shadows. Asher's steps were deliberate, crossing the terrace in long strides, ignoring the bridal dais, Clara's speech, the entire spectacle. His eyes found Eva and the world seemed to pause. She stood, her stained dress catching the chandelier light, and she took his hand, her touch steady, familiar. A hush fell over the audience, their amusement abruptly silenced. Clara's microphone malfunctioned, her speech fading, and her complexion lost color beneath her veil. Trevor Kane's smile disappeared, his hands awkwardly adjusting the microphone stand. The drone focused, showing Asher's hand clasped with Eva's, her silver ring catching the light like a promise. Asher then turned to Trevor, his voice calm but powerful, breaking the stillness. Please accept my apologies for this interruption. I have a few important announcements regarding the company the bride has been so enthusiastically promoting. He paused, allowing the anticipation to linger, his gaze sweeping the assembled group. A complete roster had been obtained this morning. All shares, every patent, every formula, and the new legal representative. He looked at Eva, his eyes softening briefly. My wife. Gasps spread through the estate, phones clattered, and live streams erupted with commentary. What? Eva's back? Eva moved forward, her footsteps echoing on the marble, and ascended the stage. Her stained dress, a symbol of their cruelty. Clara recoiled, her gown snagging on the microphone stand, her diamonds appearing lackluster beside Eva's serene glow. Eva grasped the microphone, her voice steady and controlled, reminiscent of a deep flowing river. Thank you, Clara, for supporting my brand for the last few years. I didn't come here to disrupt your wedding. I came to reclaim what had been wrongfully taken. The audience fell silent, their previous disapproval now overshadowed by astonishment. Julian Holt, Clara's fiancé and heir to a shipping dynasty, rose from the head table, his expression strained with anger. He moved toward Clara, speaking in a quiet but clear voice that reached the nearby guests. You lied, he stated, his words precise about everything. He removed the engagement ring from her finger, the emerald flashing as he dropped it to the floor. We are finished. Clara's reality shattered as Eva's words lingered, her diamond veil shifting as she stumbled away. Guests averted their gazes, their hushed voices cutting through the air. Did she take everything? Eva truly is remarkable. Her phone vibrated with urgent messages, Alyssa's removal from the board and the departure of sponsors. The live stream, previously her platform, exposed her, displaying a frozen image with mascara running. Someone who had applauded Eva's speech now questioned her integrity, whispering, fraud. Clara attempted to offer a statement, but her microphone malfunctioned, the resulting quiet intensely noticeable. The realm she had constructed, founded upon Eva's talent, crumbled within moments, her reputation becoming a cautionary tale, her former prestige now reduced to dust before Eva. He walked off the stage, past the stunned crowd, and disappeared into the estate, leaving Clara alone under the spotlight. Clara's composure faltered, her hands trembling as she gripped the microphone. This isn't true, she exclaimed, her voice high-pitched, but the crowd didn't react. Phones vibrated, headlines developing. Alyssa founder reclaims throne at wedding scandal. The live stream increased to 10 million viewers with comments pouring in. Clara's a fraud. Eva's iconic. Margot and Sloane, Clara's collaborators, attempted to leave, but drones tracked them, displaying their faces on screens globally. Their careers, established upon Eva's misappropriated work, disintegrated as it happened, with sponsors withdrawing and their names becoming prominent for negative attention. Eva exited the stage, Asher beside her, their hands still connected. She did not look at Clara, nor did she revel in the disorder. Her lack of comment conveyed a message, her reality more impactful than any insult. The audience cleared a path. The murmurs had shifted to expressions of wonder, sorrow, and embarrassment. Trevor Kane, his usual confident hosting demeanor absent, offered a quiet apology, but Eva remained silent. She had sought justice, and she achieved it without needing to speak. Before the evening concluded, Julian's family, the Holts, released a formal declaration, severing all connections with Clara and her business endeavors. Her influence, her contracts, her public image, and her carefully constructed narrative crumbled swiftly. Online platforms reacted harshly, featuring memes of her surprised expression with the caption, "Thief Bride." The wedding guests who had previously mocked Eva now confronted their own consequences. Lila Hart's startup experienced a loss of funding. Derek's hedge fund encountered audits, their identities linked to Clara's fraud. The public followed intently as Eva's resolute actions altered the narrative. By morning, the wedding's guest list was a casualty of ruined reputations. Lila Hart's startup ceased operations, investors pointing to damaging public perception following her viral comments. Derek's hedge fund faced lawsuits, his clients bailing as Derek downtrended. Margot and Sloan, Clara's allies, lost their board seats, their names removed from Alyssa's records. The influencer in gold, her video ridiculing Eva now notorious, witnessed her transactions disappear, followers shifting with fake glam. Attendees who'd chuckled retreated, their apologies disregarded, and their brands exiled by Asher's network. Eva's veracity, understated yet unwavering, consumed their realities, her poise the instrument delivering the most profound damage. Asher and Eva halted at the terrace's edge, the helicopter awaiting them beyond the lawn. He regarded her, speaking softly. "You weren't obligated to do this." She smiled, her hazel eyes reflecting the starlight. "I chose to. It was for me." She briefly looked back at the estate, observing Clara's silhouette, now solitary under the chandeliers, and then turned away, her movements graceful, her ring sparkling. They proceeded toward the helicopter, the night belonging to them, the world irrevocably altered. If this story resonated with you, please leave a comment, like the video, and subscribe for more impactful stories like this one. They requested she tackle a complex math problem, not for the solution itself, but to observe her discomfort, hesitation, and silence. Within a seminar room populated by tailored suits and PhD name tags, she arrived wearing worn canvas shoes and a creased shirt. "Did you take a wrong turn, ma'am?" Someone chuckled, "This isn't the PDA meeting." However, as her hand grasped the marker and countless eyes anticipated her failure, the whiteboard began to reveal something entirely different. The Ascension Forum at St. Lennox University stood as a cathedral of intellect, its ancient brick walls draped in ivy, its seminar halls aglow with chandeliers worth more than Manhattan penthouses. This exclusive conference, reserved for Ivy League PhDs and million-dollar AI research sponsors, featured tailored wool suits, silk ties, and name tags boasting titles like Chair of Quantum Computing. Polished oak tables held crystal water pitchers, and the air carried notes of oud and ambition. A limited number, just 300 attendees, received invitations, and their sapphire badges were verified by staff wearing velvet vests. Outside the main hall, a marble atrium provided access to a private lecture theater, with its doors designated solely for keynote speakers. Lillian Moore Bellamy entered through a less conspicuous entrance. Her jeans were worn, her simple t-shirt was tucked into a cardigan featuring worn cuffs, and her chestnut hair was pulled back with a rubber band. At 31, raised in a modest town in Vermont, she had taught herself advanced mathematics while caring for her ailing mother, and had turned down PhD offers from Harvard, MIT, and Princeton. She held a thick notebook filled with handwritten formulas. It was her only companion besides her husband, Dr. Henry Bellamy, the forum's keynote speaker. The hall's stairs felt oppressive, their whispers a gathering storm. Lillian seemed out of place within the forum, her notebook a stark contrast to the elite's carefully constructed environment. A Yale professor, wearing a $4,000 Zegna suit and displaying a sapphire badge, halted his discussion. He questioned aloud, loud enough for others to hear, if she was his bag holder. A Stanford researcher, dressed in a $3,000 Armani blazer, laughed softly, nodding to his colleague, suggesting she might be his new girlfriend, someone who hadn't attended college. A wave of laughter echoed through the seminar room, with attendees attempting to hide smiles behind their hands. Lillian remained composed, her hazel eyes focused, a notebook held close. She had come to offer encouragement to Henry, whose work she had subtly influenced. The audience's frustration grew, feeling the sharp sting of these academic authorities' dismissive behavior and their contempt for Lillian's calm demeanor. The ridicule intensified, a harsh and pointed performance led by the forum's prominent members. Becca Sloan, a third-year PhD candidate from St. Lennox, moved forward, her tailored Chanel skirt swaying, her blonde ponytail as crisp as her expression. At 26, having grown up in Boston's elite circles, she was known for her dismissive attitude towards competitors. She looked at Lillian's worn cardigan and showed disapproval. "Ma'am, this area is designated for main speakers only. Free coffee is available downstairs," she stated, her voice precise. The attendees reacted with laughter, the sound reverberating through the oak walls. Becca swung her ponytail, releasing a wave of jasmine-scented perfume, a fragrance Lillian was aware Henry found unpleasant. Lillian's grip on her notebook intensified, her expression composed, yet the audience's anger escalated, their pulses racing at this direct challenge, Becca's confidence appearing like a flame in the cold air. The disapproval intensified, a planned and focused criticism of Lillian's participation. A conference staff member, Margaret Voss, moved forward, her tailored vest neat, her face showing years of upholding established rules. At 50, raised in upstate New York, she took pride in maintaining order. She indicated the exit, her voice steady but not unkind. "Let's go, miss. You're disrupting the session." The crowd responded with cheers, their silk ties gleaming as they gestured toward the atrium. A Princeton alum, dressed in a $5,000 Brioni suit, called out, "Did you get lost? This isn't the community college." Laughter erupted, academics subtly bumping shoulders. A postdoc whispered, "She doesn't even look like a grad student." Someone added, "That notebook's probably just doodles and she dares sit here?" The insults felt like a guillotine, each word a blow against Lillian's silence. The audience's anger grew, their hearts aching for Lillian, and their frustration directed at this group's harsh treatment. The academics' disapproval became sharp as Lillian stood in the seminar room, their derision a deliberate attack intended to diminish her resolve. Near the oak tables, a group of Ivy League professors, dressed in $7,000 Seville Row suits, assembled, their voices forming a harsh blend. "She's a detriment to this forum's reputation," one remarked, gesturing with a gold fountain pen towards Lillian's worn cardigan. "Return to the library, dear," another suggested, displaying a sapphire badge and adding, "Her notebook appears as if purchased at a secondary school sale." Amusement rippled through the gathering, with staff members subtly acknowledging each other, their cufflinks sparkling. A quantum computing expert exclaimed, "She's an insult to every paper presented here." The remarks felt like a guillotine, each word a blade against Lillian's poised silence. Henry's lecture theater loomed beyond the hall, but the seminar room's disdain was a crushing weight. The audience's frustration grew, their hearts pounding, angered by this orchestrated cruelty, their ire ignited, ready to challenge the elite's arrogance. Becca Sloan delivered another sharp comment, deliberately intended to unsettle Lillian in front of the select group. "So, what understanding do you expect to gain at a forum like this?" she asked, her Chanel skirt reflecting the light as she stood at Lillian's table. "Or should we administer a freshman entrance exam to familiarize you with the subject?" She didn't pause for a response, instead heading to the whiteboard where she began writing a complex combinatorics problem, one that had previously challenged her own research group. "If I solve this before the coffee break ends, I'll publicly apologize and get your coffee for a week," she stated, her voice loud enough to silence nearby murmurs. "If not, kindly step aside and make room for real academics." The attendees cheered, their scorn a suffocating tide, their whispers buzzing, "She's a fraud." Lillian's hazel eyes burned with quiet fire, but her smile held a shield against the challenge. The audience's anger surged, their hearts aching for Lillian, outraged by this public humiliation displayed before them. The elite's contempt became intensely personal, their voices a sharp and bitter chorus. A Harvard professor, dressed in a $6,000 khitan suit, rested against the seminar table, his voice harsh and dismissive. "She's insignificant, likely here to collect Bellamy's notes," he remarked, indicating Lillian's notebook. "Notice that cardigan. Did she make it herself?" His colleagues chuckled, their sapphire badges glinting. An MIT postdoc exclaimed, "She's an embarrassment to whoever let her in." The crowd's laughter felt overwhelming, their arrogance felt like a public condemnation. Lillian tightened her rubber band, her hazel eyes steady, but the seminar room's disapproval felt like a heavy burden. The audience's frustration intensified, their hearts racing at this perceived institutional failing, their anger threatening to disrupt the forum's decorum. Becca Sloane's disapproval intensified, her words a deliberate attempt to embarrass Lillian before the seminar room's distinguished attendees. "She's not just out of place. She's a disgrace," she stated, her Chanel skirt catching the light as she indicated Lillian's canvas shoes. "Henry must be horrified to see this. Nobody in his session." Her group responded with laughter, their silk scarves waving, their eyes briefly looking at Lillian's notebook. "She's a charity case, not a scholar," Becca remarked, her voice strong enough to stop nearby whispers. The attendees responded with cheers, their scorn a heavy atmosphere, their comments a constant hum. "She's a fake." Lillian's hazel eyes held a quiet intensity, but her smile remained, a defense against the disloyalty. The lecture theater shone in the distance, yet the seminar room's disapproval felt overwhelming. The audience's anger surged, their feelings sympathetic toward Lillian. The room was filled with anger as this PhD candidate's actions were revealed. The staff's involvement only intensified the disappointment, appearing as a further breach of trust. A session coordinator, Clara Holt, wearing a tailored blazer, addressed the situation, her tone laced with disdain. "Miss, general seating is located in the atrium," she stated, gesturing towards a side door, her slight smile echoed by nearby academics. "We do not allow guests of this nature in the main hall," she continued, prompting laughter from the assembled group. At 28, having grown up in Connecticut, Clara valued her role in controlling access. The crowd's endorsement felt like an overwhelming force, their condescension a very public shaming. Lillian held her notebook, her hazel eyes focused, but the seminar room's disapproval felt oppressive. The audience's anger rose, their hearts racing at this form of institutional rejection, their resentment burning against St. Lennox's reputation. The seminar room staff's disapproval became obvious, their actions a public embarrassment seemingly intended for the academics' entertainment. A senior usher, Richard Tate, confronted Lillian close to the oak tables. His velvet vest was immaculate, and his voice conveyed condescension. "Miss, this hall is reserved for registered attendees only," he stated, ensuring the surrounding audience could hear. He indicated her jeans with a gesture, and a smirk echoed across nearby staff. "The Ascension Forum doesn't usually permit such simplicity," he noted, which prompted laughter from the academics and coordinators. The audience's affirmation felt overwhelming, their perceived superiority a stark display. Lillian held her notebook, her hazel eyes steady, but the seminar room's disapproval felt heavy. The audience's anger surged, their hearts racing at this perceived institutional slight, their indignation intense against the forum's principles. The intensity of the criticism escalated, their words a sharp and bitter barrage. A Cornell researcher, dressed in a $4,000 Canali suit, leaned forward, his voice raised and critical. "She's a fraud, likely attempting to spy on Bellamy's work," he said, his colleagues agreeing with nods, their cufflinks gleaming. "Her notebook is a mere prop, a deceptive tactic to appear inconspicuous," another added, raising his voice. "She's a deceiver, and the forum has been misled." Derisive laughter echoed, each accusation a painful blow aimed at Lillian. Rumors circulated, with accusations spreading quickly. It was said she was trying to take his research. Lillian subtly twisted a rubber band, maintaining her composure, but the public's defamation felt heavy. The audience's frustration boiled over, many sympathizing with Lillian, their anger a powerful force against these false accusations, eager for the truth to expose the elite's deceit. Lillian remained silent, her eyes dry, her arms holding the notebook, the record of her life's work, a collection of formulas that had influenced Henry's career. She moved to the whiteboard, her canvas shoes quiet on the oak floor, and took the marker. The room was still, many eyes watching to see if she would hesitate. Her lines were steady, purposeful, without tremor, no deletions, and no adjustments. Within 3 minutes, the board displayed a complex solution, a level 2 supersymmetric permutation model rendered in graceful lines. She placed the marker and returned to her seat, her hazel eyes unwavering. Becca scoffed. "That's it? Are you certain you didn't make a mistake?" The audience's emotions shifted, their frustration turning to excitement. Lillian's calm resolve a focal point. An experienced professor, Dr. Arthur Wren, stood up from the front row, his tweed jacket showing signs of age but retaining its dignified appearance. At 70, a legend in combinatorics, he moved slowly toward the board, his glasses glinting, his expression changing from composed to stunned. This is the shortest known solution to this problem, he said, his voice trembling. She employed a supersymmetric model, something the advisory board hasn't even fully proven yet. The room fell silent, crystal pictures wavering, gasps spreading through the perfumed air. Attendees rose, gathering around the board, their sapphire badges glinting. Who is she? Questions arose about her identity. What was her origin? Becca's Chanel skirt appeared to fade, her ponytail offering no defense against the reality. The audience's sense of accomplishment grew, their hearts pounding as Lillian's skill altered the seminar room's power dynamic. The atmosphere changed as the keynote session commenced, with the crowd assembling in the lecture theater. Henry Bellamy approached the stage, his gray suit well-made but not ostentatious, his arrival impactful. At 40, raised in Chicago, he had received the Fields Medal for his work on algorithmic symmetry, much of it built on Lillian's unseen contributions. He adjusted the microphone, his gray eyes meeting Lillian's in the front row. I'd like to relinquish my speaking time to someone far more deserving, he said, his voice steady. This is Lillian Moore Bellamy, who turned down 3 PhD offers from Harvard, MIT, and Princeton to care for her ailing mother. The individual who authored 80% of the core algorithms in my research, and the only person in this room who genuinely understands the genesis of this problem. The audience's spirits lifted, their anger shifting to admiration, as Henry's explanation clarified the deception that had restricted Lillian. The room fell silent. Becca Sloan's coffee cup slipped from her grasp, breaking on the oak floor. Henry spoke, his voice sharp in the quiet, stating, "She doesn't require formal recognition. She doesn't need awards. She possesses brilliance, a quality none of us present can assert." The attendees' cufflinks appeared to lose their luster, their expressions strained with surprise. Clara Holt remained still, her role as gatekeeper a clear admission of defeat. Henry indicated Lillian, his hand unwavering. This forum extended an invitation to me, but it is her contributions that warrant your appreciation. The audience cheered, their fury transformed into pride as Lillian's truth began to reshape the forum's legacy. Dr. Wren nodded, his glasses glinting with respect, the room holding its breath awaiting her response. Lillian rose, her frayed cardigan a quiet crown, and took the microphone. "I didn't come to prove anything," she said, her voice soft but clear. "I came to support my husband." She paused, her hazel eyes sweeping the room, adding, "But since you asked for a solution, I have offered one." The auditorium burst into applause, the attendees rising to their feet in a wave of admiration. Becca Sloan lowered her head, her Chanel skirt offering no comfort, and quietly apologized to Mrs. Moore Bellamy. Representatives from MIT, Stanford, and Caltech moved forward, their collaborative offers presented with unsteady hands. Lillian smiled, clasped Henry's hand, and remarked, "I just came to take you home for lunch." The audience responded with a powerful cheer, witnessing her poise dismantle the elite's presumptions. The consequences were swift, a judgment communicated without words. Becca Sloan was called before the advisory board, her research funding withdrawn, and her reputation served as a warning to those present. Clara Holt was moved to administrative roles, ending her career of controlling access. The Harvard professor who had ridiculed Lillian's cardigan was barred from participating in further discussions, effectively removing his impact. The Cornell researcher's grant proposals were denied, and his defamatory statements were revealed as falsehoods. Those who had previously shown scorn were addressed with consequences, and their positions lessened. Individuals who disseminated rumors concealed their credentials, their influence negated. Lillian stood next to Henry, her canvas shoes grounded, her notebook demonstrating her integrity. The audience's emotions resonated powerfully, their frustration changing to jubilation, Lillian's success shining brightly and diminishing the standing of the forum's leaders within St. Lennox's esteemed buildings. Henry Bellamy dominated the lecture theater, his voice cutting through the chandelier-lit air like a gavel. You dared to question Lillian Moore-Bellamy, he stated, his gray eyes radiating controlled fury, the architect of this forum's most significant insights. He raised a tablet displaying a list of consequences. Becca Sloan's research grants, Clara Holt's conference privileges, and academic advisory roles, all revoked by St. Lennox addressed the board. Your names are erased from academic circles, he stated, his gaze fixed on Becca. You've lost more than prestige, you've lost your futures. The crowd's gasps echoed as a wave of shock. With their empires collapsing under his direction, Lillian stood alongside him, her worn cardigan appearing bright, her victory assured by Henry's immense power. The elite's failure was a striking display, their overconfidence destroyed under Henry's direction. Becca Sloan retreated, her Chanel skirt seeming inappropriate, her standing a lesson to those present. Clara Holt's power crumbled, her disapproval a matter of public record, her attendants guiding her towards the atrium exit. The Columbia professor's funding disappeared, his defamation revealing his falsehoods. The professors who'd idly written with pens concealed their cufflinks, their positions as advisors terminated. The staff who'd previously expressed disdain were let go, their professional paths concluded. Those who had circulated rumors faced rejection, their power fading. Lillian remained composed, her canvas shoes a subtle sign of strength, her hazel eyes resolute. The audience's emotions surged, their anger shifting to admiration, Lillian's triumph and Henry's fury dominating the forum's esteemed chambers. A wave of applause filled the hall as his widespread condemnation diminished the arrogance of the world's leading figures. Lillian's history remained a mystery, unknown to the attendees, not Becca, and not the staff. At 20, she tackled differential equations while caring for her mother, her diner earnings paying for textbooks. At 25, she encountered Henry at a math symposium, her understated intelligence captivating him amidst a gathering of prominent figures. Their marriage, a secluded promise in a Vermont meadow, was founded on affection and mutual mathematical understanding. Becca's challenge, the staff's badges, the academic's attire, none compared to the significance of the notebook Lillian possessed. She now stood in the lecture theater, her rubber band a testament to her truth, her silence a furnace that burned through their lies. The forum resumed, but the attendees' eyes remained on Lillian. A Caltech dean approached, his voice low with respect. Mrs. Moore-Bellamy, your work is extraordinary, he said, referencing his earlier scorn or regret. The academics retreated, their influence null, their aides scrambling to salvage ties with St. Lennox. The sponsors lingered, their influence wavering in Lillian's presence. She proceeded toward the atrium, her hazel eyes following Henry's pleased smile. The chandeliers softened, the autumn light lessening, leaving a procession of the world's most powerful individuals hoping for her attention, their gestures a quiet acknowledgement of the woman they had previously belittled. She was presented with a complex mathematical problem, not because a solution was required, but because they desired to observe her hesitate, falter, and become speechless. The seminar room was full of people in tailored suits and PhD name tags. She arrived wearing faded canvas shoes and a wrinkled shirt. However, when she held the marker and hundreds of eyes anticipated a misstep, the whiteboard revealed something unexpected. True brilliance doesn't require fanfare. It simply needs to be expressed. And the room responded with admiration. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this and tell us in the comments, what would you do if you were Lillian?